History often remembers the generals who led armies into battle. Far less often does it remember the doctors who fought to save lives behind the front lines. Dr. Elsie Inglis never carried a rifle, yet she changed thousands of lives during the First World War. At a time when women were expected to remain at home, she built hospitals, organized medical units, and proved that courage could be measured in compassion as much as combat. This is the story of a woman who refused to accept the limits placed upon her, and in doing so became one of the war's greatest unsung heroes. Elsie Maud Inglis was born on August 16, 1864, in Nainital, India, where her Scottish father served in the Indian Civil Service. Her family later returned to Scotland, where Elsie developed a strong sense of justice and a deep interest in helping others. She grew up in a household that valued education and encouraged independent thinking, qualities that would shape the rest of her life. At a time when very few women entered medicine, Elsie chose a path that challenged convention. Determined and intelligent, she pursued an education that many believed should be reserved for men, convinced that women could contribute just as much as their male counterparts. After studying medicine in Edinburgh and Glasgow, Inglis qualified as a doctor in 1892. The medical profession remained dominated by men, and opportunities for female physicians were limited. Rather than accept these restrictions, Elsie helped establish hospitals and clinics where women could both work and receive medical care. She also became active in the women's suffrage movement, believing that better healthcare and equal rights went hand in hand. When the First World War began in 1914, Elsie immediately offered her services to the British Army. The response was blunt. She was reportedly told, "My good lady, go home and sit still." Rather than accept rejection, Inglis chose a different path. With support from the Scottish Women's Hospitals Organisation, she raised funds, recruited female doctors, nurses and support staff, and prepared to serve overseas. Instead of waiting for permission, she created an opportunity where none existed. Under Elsie's leadership, entirely female medical units were established across Europe. These hospitals treated wounded soldiers in France, Serbia, Russia, and elsewhere, staffed by women doctors, surgeons, nurses, ambulance drivers, and administrators. They proved that women could perform every aspect of wartime medical care with exceptional skill. As the war continued, the Scottish women's hospitals earned the respect of both soldiers and military leaders. What many had dismissed as an impossible idea quickly became an indispensable part of the Allied medical effort. Elsie's greatest challenge came in Serbia. As disease and fighting devastated the country, her hospitals cared for thousands of wounded and sick soldiers under incredibly difficult conditions. Medical supplies were scarce, epidemics spread rapidly, and danger was never far away. When enemy forces advanced, many fled. Elsie stayed. She refused to abandon her patients, even as the front collapsed around her. Eventually, Serbian forces were overwhelmed, and Elsie was captured by the invading Austro-Hungarian army. Although held for a time, her reputation as a physician earned her respect, and she was eventually repatriated to Britain. Most people would have considered their duty complete. Elsie instead began planning her next mission. Despite declining health, Elsie organised another medical unit, this time serving alongside Serbian forces on the Macedonian front. The work was physically exhausting, with long hours, harsh conditions, and a constant stream of wounded soldiers requiring treatment. Years of hardship and relentless dedication had begun to take a serious toll on her health. Even so, Elsie refused to step away from her responsibilities. She remained committed to her patients until she was finally forced to return home, having given nearly everything she had in service to others. In late 1917, seriously ill, Elsie returned to Britain. She died the day after arriving home at the age of 53. Her funeral in Edinburgh drew thousands of mourners. In Serbia, however, her legacy reached even greater heights. She was honoured as a national hero for her extraordinary service during the war. Elsie Inglis never commanded an army. She never sought glory or recognition. Instead, she built hospitals where none existed, challenged prejudice with action, and saved countless lives in some of the darkest days of the First World War. Today, her name is far less familiar than many military leaders of her era. Yet history is richer because she refused to go home and sit still. Her greatest victory was not won on the battlefield, but in the lives she saved. Some stories fade, others wait to be heard.